Yeah. So right here, guys, in our hands, we hold almost $20,000 worth
Almost.
worth of paper.
It's not.
Can I pay for my HDB flat with
Almost.
with this?
I think in Singapore we have 6 copies exist in Singapore.
Wow.
Yeah, highest
Check
grade
out,
being 7.0.
Singapore, highest number of millionaires in the country.
Yeah.
So today I have my good friend here, Alwyn, whom I know from many years, but now he's the proud owner of a Geek Art Collectible shop. And just a bit about Alwyn, he sells, original comic art that's published, as well as limited edition comic books such as the first appearance of Spider-Man. That serious stuff, right, Alwyn?
Yep.
Last time it transacted for idea. What's the highest transacted for Spider-Man?
Spider-Man has been a very elusive collectible. A lot of people always wanted to, own the
Have their
first
hands on
Spider-Man.
it, right? Yeah.
Correct. We actually have a copy right here.
Yeah, let's check it out.
So let's look over here. So this, for those who don't know, right, Spider-Man did not appear. Can you all see?
Yeah.
So Spider-Man did not appear in Spider-Man 1. His first appearance is actually in Amazing Fantasy 15. It's supposed to be the last issue of Spider-Man. Of this series. So Marvel actually got, at the time was timely, got Stanley to come on in and say, hey, could you write the last story of Spider-Man? Can you write something?
So he was not supposed to.
He was not
this.
supposed to write Spider-Man. So at that time he panicked.
Spider-Man almost didn't exist.
Didn't exist.
Shit.
So at that time, right, somebody gave him an idea. Say, hey, what do you like? What do you think of this idea? The Silver Spider is crap.
Oh dear.
So at that moment, he actually
Stanley got hit for proposing this idea.
So he said, oh, Spider-Man. And then those who don't know, right, the Spider-Man costume is also designed by the legendary Jack Kirby. This is actually a Jack Kirby cover, but he wasn't credited for it. Yeah.
Oh dear. So right here, guys, in our hands, we hold almost $20,000 worth of paper.
It's not the most it's not like near mint, but it's still a very elusive.
You mean it can go up for more?
I mean, if it's graded,
can I pay for my HDB flat with this?
I think in Singapore we have 6 copies exist in Singapore.
Wow.
Yeah, highest grade being 7.0.
Highest number of millionaires in the country.
Yeah. I mean, they bought very early ago, very, very, very early. They foresee that this is going to be a very elusive collection. Yeah. Wow. So yeah, this is just one of them.
Yeah. Thanks. Okay. You're back. Okay. So just a bit more overview of what Alwyn does before we dive right into our questions. Alwyn used to have a humble pop-up shop right here in the same building at the old Funan, and right now we are in the new Funan, right? There's 10 years have passed, right? Where have all those 10 years gone to? And Alwyn has been on this journey whereby he collects and trades in original artwork, some selected limited edition comic books, as well as a series of collectibles that he's been developing with many artists around the region, as well as he's bringing in this service whereby he might CGC your work for you. So maybe you can explain what that is.
Okay. Yeah. So just a little backstory lah. There's a little secret origin.
Yes, that's the secret origin.
Secret origin. I've always been a comic fan all my life. Ever since my aunt bought me my first comic book in Thomson Plaza. Wow. I don't know the name of the comic shop, but she bought me the first comic book. It was a Superman comic, drawn by the legendary John Byrne.
Oh, John Byrne, yes.
John Byrne.
So OG John Byrne.
When I flipped on it, I didn't understand what was going on, but I couldn't read, but I liked the pictures. And I said, this is what I want to collect. So it has always been my passion to collect comic books. And then over the time, as I continue to,
fall down the rabbit hole. At least you want to spending the money.
And been buying. So I've been running around second-hand bookshops. Singapore used to have, I think, 6 to 7 comic shops at its height during the 90s. Right. Jim Lee's X-Men 1 sold 8 million copies.
Spawn, right?
Yeah, Spawn. All were sold by the millions. So at that time, Singapore had 8 active comic shops. So at that time, we were running around and buying comics from everywhere. On top of it, there were a lot of second-hand bookshops, like in Beauty World, Bras Basah being one of it. For those who don't know, right, Fantastic Four 1 was actually sold at Bras Basah once upon a time. it was actually sold to the newsstands, and if you bought it at the newsstand, you have a Malaysia logo on it.
Shout out to whoever has that copy. Hope
Yeah.
your dog hasn't chewed it or your cat hasn't.
I actually sold
shat
a
on
copy
it
of
before.
the number one to a local Malaysian. I will not disclose the collector, but he actually had that copy with the Malaya logo on it, the Spider-Man one.
You better buy housing insurance, right? Yeah. If the house
I
burn
mean,
down,
he's an avid collector, so he always wanted a Spider-Man one, and because of the Malaysian logo, it gives him it wasn't the best condition, but it gives him a reason to own it, so he bought that.
Imagine collecting comic books and PMD's skate scooter in your house. You know, imagine if your skate scooter go on fire, your comic books also go on fire. So got to stay safe.
So
right?
you need to
segment your
vault.
segment your comics.
I do know people who actually have like very expensive collection. They don't keep in their house. They actually keep in the vault.
Wow.
So like
It's
X-Men
like private
one,
banking, man.
yeah, it's like X-Men one, your Amazing Fantasy, your Spider-Man one, is all in the vault. So if you want to
rob that vault right
if you want to buy a Spider-Man one, you need to come with him to his vault, wait outside, and he'll go in and grab it for you. Yeah.
This stuff is getting serious, guys. Yeah.
And it's all Singaporean collectors. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. What is it about comics and comic art that has drawn you to this trade? Because it must be a very serious force to be reckoned with. That's why you're still in this universe, right?
I started as a comic book collector, so I've been buying comics all my life. And then what happened was during one of the Singapore Comic Con, right? They invited a lot of artists. So artists like Laniel Yu, Asset Ribik, Alex Maleev, a lot of American talents lah. That you can only dream of. Seeing them all came, and my personal favorite was Laniel Yu at the time because I love his Avengers run, and I wanted to meet Laniel very very bad. I wanted to get a sketch from Laniel, and then what happened was a lot of the artists actually came to me and said that, hey Alwyn. I asked one of the artists, I said, hey, do you do commissions? And I heard that in the US you can actually commission, like you can have a special sketch drawn to your request. Can I have Archangel, can I have Wolverine, so on and so forth. And to my surprise, they actually told me that, hey, you know what, we want to do it, but because we're not from here, right, we don't know who to go to, how to advertise. At the time, Facebook wasn't very big, and
no social media,
no Instagram, nothing. So there was nothing going on. So I took upon myself, because I know a lot of people who collect comic books at that time, said, go, I can arrange for you. And at that time, out of passion, I would message all my friends, hey, do you want a sketch from this artist? Want a sketch from this artist? And at that time, a sketch was only $30.
Wow,
$30, and we would book I remember I would book a small area, right, and then I would go to IKEA to buy a table, just one table. We put it there, and then everyone just came. It was our own like a
China
little comic.
Square, is it? Was it China
No, it wasn't China Square,
Square?
but it wasn't China Square. But I mean, that's not important. But everyone came, and it was like a mini Comic Con. But at that time, it was the passion, and people came, and the artist was happy. I was happy because I people were happy with sketches. Everyone was happy, and so and it fueled my passion and said that, hey, actually, I think there's some sort of business going on. So while I was working, right, I was, developing talent. I was looking for artists that maybe, because for Singaporeans, it's very hard to represent someone from the US, but local talent, so at the time I represented a couple of local artists. Eventually, I was very lucky. I balls up and went to the big dog in Singapore. I went to Stanley Artgerm.
Right.
At the time, he was very known for drawing digital art, but never traditional. So I actually went up to him and said, hey, Stan, are you interested to do traditional art? He said, sure, no problem. If you have the clientele, then I'll do it. But at that moment, it was very disheartening because he wanted, I think at that time, when we started almost 8 years ago, right?
8 years.
He wanted 350 USD for a B5 size sketch. That was actually a lot of money, USD at the time.
US dollars.
That was a lot of money. And it was very hard for me to convince a collector who collect comic books, right? And say, hey, would you want to
own an Artgerm?
Throw $350 down to because at that time that was his rate for his commercial work.
So
he doesn't see the logic that why would I charge $30?
True. He's like, what, Alwyn?
Why would I waste my time?
Yeah.
And at that time he hasn't done any sketches before, and it was very stressful. But at the time, because of a nerd lah, the nerd in me saying that
The nerd has risen.
I need to make this work. I need to prove to Stan that I can sell his art. So I started posting online. I started posting on my Facebook page. My Facebook page became my platform to share and to reach out to people. And then my first customer I remember was this guy called Michael Sharp. He was an American. He came to me and said, "Hey, I would love to get a sketch from Artgerm," and he wanted a Death. I remember because that's my favorite character.
Wow.
Yeah, and then Death was the first one. And I get an Emma Frost, and I remember holding on to the first piece of art from Stan. I didn't want to give away.
Oh, that's the
That was how good it was. Stan was very, very talented at that time, and I knew at that time that he was going to be big lah. So as time goes on, it's always been a part-time thing for me. So I'll be working. At the same time, by the side, I'll be running around arranging sketch commissions for different collectors. Yeah, at that time there was no market, so there was no like how much is a sketch, how much is a how much is a sketch, how much is how much to pay for. It was just ad hoc. Everything was just art,
it's
right?
free for all. Yeah,
correct. As time goes on, I realized that maybe there's more to it. So I wanted to develop it to a business. So at that time, I was running a full-time job. I was also I partnered with another fellow collector and started Invasion at Funan. So it was
the old Funan.
The old Funan, the old school Funan, the IT
not the current Funan.
So at that time we had it was half toy shop, half comic book shop. So I was already running two businesses.
Sweat.
And at the time, once again, because I was doing what I like, right? It wasn't like work. So I would take some time out and I would answer emails. So my job was just to answer emails and collect art from Artgerm and mail them out. And I learned how to properly mail an art out, how to pack them, how to that's very
fragile.
How to pack them, what is registered. I applied PayPal. At that time I didn't know what is PayPal, and I didn't know that if you had more than a certain amount of money, your account get freeze up, things like that. So these are things I learned over the years and things like that. So it was a learning curve for me lah, and eventually, after doing it for almost, we started going to San Diego Comic Con and eventually New York, and that's where we realized that the sea of artists expanded. It's like, wow, you mean there are more artists, there are more people, and I met a lot of my childhood heroes like Mike Mignola.
Wow, Hellboy. Creator of Hellboy.
I met Rob Liefeld.
Creator of Deadpool.
After many attempts, I finally met him. Dustin Nguyen, the artist for Little Gotham, Batman.
Wow.
A lot of them lah. But my personal artist that I always wanted to meet was this artist called Carlos Leander. He was the concept artist for. He was the concept artist for Arkham Asylum, the Rocksteady game. At the time, and I fell in love with his art. I said, this guy is a genius. So I went up to him, and I was praising him. And he said, why are you praising me? I'm not popular.
The concept artist for Arkham Asylum, right? Yeah.
I said, I wasn't popular. Why are you praising me? He said, no, sir, I'm a big fan of your work. Can I buy some of your art? Sure, you can buy.
So 24 hours here.
Yeah. So he became another one of my artists that I represent. And we've been still working actively because currently he's doing a lot of Justice League and a lot of Harley Quinn and stuff. So I've been selling his covers. One of the first covers I sold for him was. So I asked him, say, hey Carlo, do you have the cover? Because he works on the Dark Horse. At the time, Dark Horse still owned the rights to Star Wars. So he owned the cover. So I asked him, do you have the cover for the Star Wars one that you did for Mexico for the Mexico convention? He said, yeah. In fact, I do have that. I also have the Marvel #1 that I did for that convention as well. So I have both covers. So he actually did for both issue 1.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, at the time. So he asked me, how much can you sell it for? At that time, I didn't know what was the right price, and it was Star Wars. So I said that do you mind taking 3,000 USD? And he's like, impossible. No one have sold my art for $3,000.
Impossible! It would never happen.
So no one have sold my art for $3,000. If you can sell it, then we talk. We shall talk. And I remember at that time, I messaged some of those very serious collectors. I mean, not the not the casual fans, but the real serious collector. Like, were you ready to buy a Star Wars #1 cover? Yeah, at the time, and I had no answer. So the next day I went up to him, and then he wasn't there, but he has a handler there. He said, "Oh, are you Alwyn? This is the covers. Take it." I said, but I haven't paid. It's fine, just take it. I remember bringing it back to Singapore, and finally, I sold it for $3,000, and that's how we began our partnership.
Your Boba Fett, you found the Han Solo and Carbonite, right? You transported it to Singapore.
To be fair, right, the number one of them was a Boba Fett cover. So yeah.
There you go, Boba Fett.
Yeah, so that's how we started. That's how we started, and then eventually I realized that there's actually a market to it. So after I quit my job from, I used to work in a school, doing digital media and stuff. I quit from the school. No, I didn't quit, but our contract was up. So at the time I had two choices. Either I go back to work, find another job and continue to do this part-time, or grow this business that I'm so passionate about. Right. So at the time I decided to grow this business. Thanks to my wife, who's not here today, but she is my biggest encouragement. She actually encouraged me. She actually went out and looked for my first store at Bras Basah. It's my current store, Ink right now. Ink Ink Collectibles was born from there.
And here we are, right? Amidst the retail apocalypse, he decided to open a retail shop.
Correct.
It's quite a mind-blowing encounter, right? Quite scary. Opening
it was very scary because I remember when I first opened my first retail store, right? No, retail pay rent is fine. I mean, I've always been paying rent, but no sales. Like every day you go, there was no sales, and at a very early time I realized that you can't grow a business if you are handling customers, replying emails, and that you can't grow. Basically, you'll be working for a business, but you can't grow it because as the boss, you need to grow the business. You need to be talking to artists. You need to be making deals. You need to expand your business . So at that time, I already knew I had to hire. So I was lucky I hired my first staff. And I remember that time it was almost 2 weeks. We had zero sales, almost zero sales. So we have a lot of friends who came to see me.
The staff look at you.
No, I mean she was in a poly at that time . It was this very nice girl. She was in a poly. She came. And I remember at the time I told her, said that I can't pay you today because my sales are not good.
Oh, and she's still there.
And I asked her, do you still want to come? She said, I have nothing better to do. I don't mind.
I have nothing better to do?
Yeah, I don't mind coming. So, but she's a comic fan herself.
Oh, okay,
she's a big
must have the passion.
Yeah, she also like myself. I said, oh, this girl has passion. She has balls also lah. Yeah. So I said, if there's no sales today, means today I can't pay you a salary.
Oh, she was fine. She was all in.
Yeah, she was all in. And I said that would you want to I allow you to do your homework. If you have homework, you have assessments to do, you can do your homework.
But if you have a give and take at the beginning.
Yeah. So I remember on that day, right, it was 8. I opened late, so usually I close at 7:30. But at that day, I opened at 8 p.m. And someone walked in, and the guy was carrying a guitar. So I was like, this guy's not going to buy anything. And then at the corner, he saw a piece of Joker. He saw a piece of Joker art. It was drawn by Dustin Nguyen. I remember buying it from him. In one of my trips to New York. It was very painful, but I felt that I had to sell it. So it was framed out, it was displayed there. And he saw it and he said that I cannot take my eyes off this piece of artwork. I loved it. How much is the piece of art? I think it was $1,200. He said that, I can't pay $1,200. No, but I love it so much. He said, why should I pay $1,200? Because it's a piece of an original art. If you see it, you understand. It's not its usual stuff. It was a little abstract, not the typical comic book art style. And he said, okay, let's come to a middle, 1,001, we close the deal. I said, okay, no problem. I shook his hand. He said, do you accept card? No. Panic, because he said that
no Grab pay,
nothing. I only have Nets,
wave,
and then because he's from Hong Kong, right? He said, I can't pay you anything. He said, do you have whatever bank? I said, I can't remember what was the bank, Citibank or whatever, OCBC, UFB, whatever. I said that downstairs you can. He said, okay, I tell you what, I'll go draw. You don't wait for me. And he left.
Wow.
We waited for 45 minutes. I was like,
is he going to return?
It's gone. I look at my staff. My staff looked at me. He said that, you want to go home first? She said that, no, it's okay. Let's wait for the customer. And just before we want to lock the door, he came back in with cash. So I remember holding on to
with cash. He went to withdraw money physically because you couldn't accept his credit card
at the time because we just started.
Right. And he bothered to go down, withdraw cash, and survive not getting robbed. Because safest country in the world, right? Yeah. And then
it's $1,000. No one's gonna rob you for $1,000.
And then he came to you.
Yeah, with cash. Cash. I was happy not because I sold out. I was happy because I can pay my staff. That was more. Because I didn't want anybody to work for me free. Like myself, if I work hard, I want to get paid. So anybody who work for me, I do not want to shortchange. So I was so happy. So I said, okay, this is your today's salary plus commission for having faith in me. Thank you. And this has always been our thing. We've been always been championing comic art and
the visual culture.
Visual cultures.
And now I hear that you're actually I passed by your shop the other day. You seem to be renovating. What's going on?
So after opening, for almost, I always think it's 2 years, but I'm always corrected by my staff. She will always tell me, no, it's 3 years, because the day you open is the day I work for you. Wow. So she will remember, it's like this 3 years now. I've been working for you for 3 years. Yeah. So she actually finished her poly right now. She finished her poly, everything. Still working for me. And we realized that we started out just purely selling print, sketchbook, and artwork, and some collectible comic books. But as time goes on, right, I see the market because of the movies, for vintage comics, becoming, and then CGC comic becoming a thing. So we have slowly moved towards that, and we have a new, like a new artist customer space coming in, of collecting comic book coming in. So now it sort of becomes half gallery, half comic book shop. But we specialize. We are very specialized in what we do. And because every week we have people coming in talking about what to buy, what's the hot book, what's the book to get, and thank God that I'm very into all this, so I'm able to share with them and give them my opinion, and the place have grown and to a point that it's no space. We literally
double the space now.
A weekend, everybody will be standing. Nobody will have a place to sit. That's how much people we have during the weekend. People will be coming in, people will be buying, paying, and people will be talking, and it's like a little convention, and I decided that it's time for us to grow. It's time for us to to move to a bigger space, so everyone can have more space to move around and stuff. So we decided to take up a bigger unit.
Now I really regret not buying the Artgerm original art previously. Last time I asked you how much is this piece, then you told me
just to let you know, I have no Artgerm art.
Now right, it's none at all left, right?
Nothing.
So nothing, all gone.
Everything.
Now it's add one more zero. That's the price now. But luckily I have some good buys. I bought.
You do have some good buys.
True. Luckily. And so where do you think the future's headed? What are your plans for end of the year? Like the year's coming to an end, and the future. Where do you think this market is headed?
For us, we have always been we never forget our root. Our root is comic art. Our root is collectible. That's why, hence our name is Ink Ink Collectibles. So what we want to do is to bring the always, be mindful and remember what we are. That's how we started. So, we recently we launched our own silkscreen T-shirt. The staff that have been working for me for a long time, she's from fashion. So I remember when she came to me and said, I want to intern with you. I said, how you intern with me? You are fashion. I'm a retail store. I'm a gallery. I can't. But she said that. But I want to work with you. That's how I've been always working with you. I've learned so much from you. I want to work with you. And so I decided that this will be the best time to combine both art and T-shirt. To do collectible T-shirts. So we did a first run with her. We did photo shoots and stuff. Very raw, but at the same time we sold out our first batch of T-shirt. It was designed by one of our artists, base artists. We also represent some local artists. First batch of shirt we sold out, and then 1 year from now, right, after the next, when she came aboard full time, I wanted to continue to
develop the range.
So we had our new range of T-shirt.
That's good. And it's the T-shirt right here, right up here. You can see it, right? Yeah. So I think we've learned a lot from Alwyn. And is there, this is your chance. Although now we have 0 subscribers, this is your chance to promote anything you want. Because I know you for many years.
Correct.
And I've it's always happy it's a happy feeling to see your friends pursue their passion.
Of course.
And end up, making a living from it, because that's important, right? You want to go to your work feeling happy, which is also why we do this podcast, although we have 0 subscribers now. So like and subscribe and follow us on
Zero
Facebook.
for now.
Yeah, 0 for now. Correct, 0 for now.
Zero
And
for now.
anything you want to promote that's coming up? Or
Okay, so
anything like that?
what I wanted to do actually was to give away,
Oh,
so
a
the
prize.
T-shirt. So
Yeah.
anyway, I want to.
Oh, you have something for us?
Yes, I do have
For
something
me?
you.
For me, what about me?
So-
do I get anything? Yeah.
This, if you all can see here, can hold it up.
Wow, check it out.
So this is drawn by a very famous Malaysian artist that we work with. His name is Zin Chin. He's very, very popular in the internet, in the social media world, internet world. He's very popular in China as well. So this is actually a acid-free silkscreen print that we created. So this is the design you get when you order our T-shirt. I don't have a sample of the T-shirt, unfortunately. So what happens is that we're going to give this away. So in order to get a print, you need to be the first 25 who ordered the T-shirt to get this. But
Wow.
we're giving it away free.
So
Here in this first episode, we're going to give away something.
Firstly, like and subscribe.
Correct.
And then comment below,
Yeah.
right? And then comment below with your email address. Or you can tag a friend that might like this, right? Because you might not be a collector, but your friend
Correct.
like it, right? So,
Correct.
and then we'll read the Facebook comments and as well as the YouTube comments, and we'll select one winner, which we'll post to our Facebook page about 1 week after this podcast. Thank you. So thanks, Alwyn,
Okay.
for being on this podcast.
Okay.
It's been great, Alwyn. This is the After Hours podcast, and tune in next week